Welcome to Filmstrip and our American Ninja series.
Ninja? What the hell are ninja?
Featuring Ron.
Hey! We don't stop till one of us goes down. Now! Let's go!
And Jay.
Who is he? I don't know. He's a new recruit. I don't even know his name.
He possessed great skills.
These podcasts will be spoiler-filled as we discuss the plots, characters, and details of the films.
And if a word of this gets out, I'll have you shot. You understand?
Welcome to Filmstrip. I'm Jay.
And I am Ron.
This is our review of American Ninja 4, The Annihilation. Starring Michael Dudikoff, David Bradley, James Booth, Robin Still, and Dwayne Alexander. Directed by Cedric Sundstrom. Released in 1990, America 1991, on an unknown budget again. Grossed $350,000 or so in its limited box office run. The official end of the American Ninja series. So we get Michael Dudikoff back. What brought him back?
Apparently, they moved the filming from South Africa to Lesotho while still taking tax rebates from the South African government. And because it wasn't technically being filmed in South Africa, Michael Dudikoff came back. And I imagine the paycheck helped.
Yeah, I have a feeling they had to kick in a little extra for him. But where's Steve James? That's what I want to know.
That's a really good question, and I kind of looked it up, looked him up on IMDb and kind of poked around. Well, it looks like that 1990, 1991 is when he was beginning to get sick.
Oh.
And he died in 1993 of pancreatic cancer. And I can imagine that probably had a lot to do with him not being on this film. Plus, he had a bunch of other flicks that came out that same year, so maybe he was actually busy. They did like a TV movie version of his character from I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker.
Well, that explains Steve James. I didn't realize that was the same time he got sick and things. So that would explain his absence from this film. And I do say he's missed. I think there is a part in this film for him that is given to someone else that shouldn't be. And I'm not even talking about David Bradley's part. I'm talking about one of the other henchmen. But at any rate, we do get David Bradley back, and we get Michael Dudikoff. So it's like, I love the cover of the thing. It's both American Ninja, together, right? We put the whole. It's like if they got David Lee Roth, or when they got David Lee Roth and Sammy Hagar to tour together for Van Halen, right?
Oh, it's clearly best of both worlds. The Ninja movie.
Yes. So that's a great Van Halen riff, by the way. So. Well, why don't you go ahead and tell us what American Ninja 4, The Annihilation is about, or just tell us who's trying to make a group of super ninjas this time.
Okay. In classic canon fashion, we open up with some running and shooting as a group of Delta Force commandos are on the run from, you guessed it, ninjas.
Hold on a minute. Guys with guns are on the run from ninjas.
From guys with medieval weaponry, yes.
Yes, let's just lay that out there, but go ahead.
Meanwhile, Sean, a.k.a. David Bradley, is now a member of the CIA, and he clearly inspired by the Steven Seagal story, where he goes from a karate champion to a CIA agent.
Yeah.
And he's also the best man at his partner Braxton. That's good old Dwayne Alexander's wedding. Because this is a movie, and no wedding, makeout session, or important family meal goes uninterrupted, they get the call. They're off to the jungles to track down Mulgrew, played by James Booth. An ex-British secret agent who hates the British, hates Americans more, is a notorious sadist, and who is working with an Arab terrorist named Maqsood, Ron Smirzak, who doesn't sound very Arab or look very Arab, to develop a suitcase nuke with enough power to take out New York City. There are also ninjas, because of course there are. The Delta Force guys are also being held for ransom, but Sean the American Ninja and Braxton, the nerdy son of Steve James and the wormy dude from American Ninja 3, are there to stop them, with a little help from a busty Peace Corps nurse named Sarah, played by Robin Still. When that mission goes sideways, because of course it doesn't work, there's only one Peace Corps volunteer worth calling, and that's the original American Ninja, Joe Armstrong. Joe and Sean have to work together to stop the Japanese Red Faction Army, a.k.a. the Ninjas, and Mulgrew, with a little help from the former political prisoners at Sulphur Springs, which is this great fake barter town.
Yes, that is the most amazing plot summary I think we've gotten this time around. So this time the stakes are bigger. It's a nuke. It's not going to be super ninjas. It's not just a virus that may or may not work. It's not a tournament put up as a sham. Nope. It's a nuclear weapon, because nothing was scarier in the 80s than nuclear weapons, right? Like, we're going to play on the worst fears of the Reagan 80s now.
Oh, clearly, yeah. Even though it's, the early 90s at this point. But,
yeah.
Suitcase nukes are still a big thing. And if you've played, which one of the Civilization games is it? Anywhere, there's a Civ game where the spy with a suitcase nuke is your ultimate weapon. And clearly this is Suitcase Nuke the movie.
Yes. Suitcase Nuke the movie. They should have just called it American Ninjas in a Suitcase. Because it kind of feels like that's what was going on for most of this thing. So we open up with Sean is now in the CIA. He's got the same haircut as last time. But he's in the CIA, and his brand new best friend, Carl, the sidekick, reminded me of Clarence Gilliard Jr., if you remember him at all from Matlock fame and Walker, Texas Ranger, and he was also the computer guy in the first Die Hard movie. He's been in a lot of stuff. He's in Top Gun, too, by the way. But anyway, yep, he was the call sign Sundown. The guy that gets stuck with Maverick after Goose dies and is like, man, we could have had him. That guy. So
okay.
I've seen that film entirely too many times. But he's getting married when they get the call. And I wrote in my notes, this reminds me a lot of Navy SEALs. And I looked it up. Navy SEALs came out the same year as this, 3 months after this. And I'm not certain that someone from Golden Globus didn't have a copy of that script when they were making this film. Because this is not the only time I feel like we're doing a callback to another film of the same year. Like, they're copying stuff before it even comes out now.
They're the asylum of the 90s. They're clearly on the cusp of every blockbuster, but they're getting there first. They're the straight to video mockbuster version of Navy SEALs, or take your pick.
Exactly, but that won't be the only time that gets into this as it goes. And I looked up the writer, someone named David Jeeves. This is the only thing he's ever written, so I'm just going to go ahead and say now that's a made up name for about the 12 people that it took to write this. But I will say that whatever they were on or whatever they were fed was better than the group that wrote the last film by far. From the top, this is a better movie than American Ninja 3.
Yeah, that's putting it mildly. I never would have thought that you could make that kind of argument, but this movie is greatly improved by both Michael Dudikoff and David Bradley's presence.
Yes, and I'll say this: somewhere between that last movie and this one, someone figured out that David Bradley is actually kind of funny when you give him sort of deadpan lines to do. He didn't get any of that last time. That seemed to be all Jackson's role. And now he gets to do all of that. And he's actually pretty good at it. Like, last time I felt like his dialogue was just atrocious. This time it's actually, I don't know, it kind of makes sense. Dare I say that?
Yeah, that's kind of surprising, but it's actually really true. I never would have guessed that David Bradley had a sense of humor, but I mean, here we are. He's making jokes and he's showing some uncharacteristic signs of life. Yeah.
I mean, he's clearly still a wooden zombie that can do ninja moves, but from time to time, he can be kind of funny. And I thought it was neat that they played on his sense of humor this time rather than just choke him up and make him, doing strange hand gestures and stuff like that. Like, at least they gave him stuff to do that he wasn't allowed to do the last time. And the story's bigger, too, because the thing is, like, they bring him and his buddy in from the wedding, which, by the way, you're married, I'm married. Weddings are, kind of stressful things anyway. If the groom bugs out of a wedding, he's pretty much going to get shot in the parking lot by the in-laws, right? Like, that's never going to be allowed to go down.
Oh, clearly, yeah. And it's not just that he bugged out. Like, he was there ready to say his I do's, and then he just up and leaves.
So, Rod, you're married, I'm married. Like, grooms that bail on the wedding don't make it out of the parking lot before they're shot by their, not father-in-laws, right? Like, Yeah, like all he does is go, honey, see you later, and runs out. Like he didn't even say, just do a quick, I do, and then we're done.
Yeah, he wasn't. It wasn't like he, hadn't walked down the aisle. I mean, he was there waiting, like, for the DUs, and then he just gets like, pager went off, gotta go. CIA.
The pager, the CIA pager, that was such a callback to a different time, right? You remember pagers? I do.
Yes.
The one I had was like a garage door opener and was about as loud. And so, I don't know. I thought that was fun. But I love how they get back to CIA headquarters and they're still in their wedding gear. They didn't get time to change clothes, and they're getting the debriefing from the suit of what's going on.
Yeah, it looks like they hopped into the just married car and took off.
Yeah. Left the poor woman there, and do we ever get back to her, by the way? Like, this film ends and we never go back to the wedding.
Oh, I believe she's completely forgotten.
Yeah, and that's amazing because Carl, the sidekick here, is actually allowed to live in this film, because I thought that marked him for death immediately. I was like, well, clearly he's going to die because we must heartbreak this poor woman again.
Oh, yeah, he's got to die because he's a good intelligence operator, but he's not a field agent. He's clearly not ninja quality.
Yeah.
David Bradley or Sean makes it clear that this guy's nothing but a soon-to-die albatross.
Yeah.
But he inexplicably lives.
Yeah, I'm amazed at the number of people that do make it out of this film. We'll talk about that as we go. But yeah, he's one of the ones that lives so through this. But please explain to me again the Evil's plot this time. You summed it up real well in the plot summary, but I'm still not really sure what Evil's plan was besides the suitcase nuke.
I think that was the big thing. The suitcase nuke and Mulgrew was training these assassins in some kind of old British fort that had been abandoned. And there were also the Japanese Red Faction Army, the best ninjas in Japan, I guess.
Who broke away from all the prosperity of Japan in the 80s to go and be ninjas for hire?
I guess they didn't want to be salarymen. I don't know.
I guess. It's not for everybody. So.
Oh, and also... I forgot this. He's also ransoming the remaining members of the Delta Force that didn't die to the bows and arrows.
Yes, yeah. There are members of the Delta Force that are still alive, along with the Chuck Norris knockoff. That's their leader, sitting there. And they're tied up to some poles in, your high school basement. Is what it looks like.
Yeah.
It's like they rented a gym, and that was, it was a /gym/worship center at like a camp or something. And the basement of it is where they're tied up, and they show pictures of them. And, we're not going to let our 4 commandos go. That's the whole bit. So they're at this old British fort in the to be forenamed, where's this country again?
They don't even bother to name the country this time. It's just...
I thought I'd missed that.
Mysterious island land.
Yeah, I mean, not even a fake island name. Like, that bothers me, because they're doing so many other things right, and they're getting this totally wrong.
Well, I think maybe by now they figured out it doesn't matter what they call it. We're all going to recognize it as, South Africa anyway.
Right, this is true. I think at that point, people knew verisimilitude of this is low, right? Like, we're not really going to go with it, so nobody cares. So don't even say it, right? Like,
yeah, there's no point in giving this place a name. All we need to know is it has a Casablanca bar, and
yes, and again a worship center / gymnasium that is part of a third world country or something. Like, that's what it looks like. So, but I love how in the midst of this, Sean tries to talk his superiors out of this. Like, sidekick Carl is not ready for this. You need to go get me Joe Armstrong. And I love how they lay out Joe Armstrong's arc here. He's a peace-loving hippie is what they call him, but he's really just a Peace Corps teacher, right?
Yeah, he's teaching English to kids who apparently already know English.
Yeah. Which, in what I do, I've never been on the Peace Corps, but I've had a lot of colleagues that have done Peace Corps work. I've seen a lot of students at the college go and do the Peace Corps, so I've heard the story. Like, I know what it's like. Once they get them to that point, it's time to move on. That's what they do.
Right.
There's other people that want to learn, so they move them somewhere else. I don't know many ninja special forces folks that would do this, but you know what I felt like this was the plot of Rambo 3. If you've ever seen that, where Rambo is like part of a convent or something.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking of. It's like the Rambo, no, I'm retired kind of plot, and the operator, the David Bradley's contact leader or whatever is like Colonel Troutman, but he looks like Robert Stack.
Yes, he does. You got Robert Stack trying to convince Rambo to come be a part of the fight. That's really what the big part of the plot is here.
Yeah, pretty much. That's he's the Richard Crenna
of the whole thing. So I love how Sean and his non-field trained sidekick parachute near the fort. Carl knows how to parachute out of perfectly good airplanes. That, to me, says, well, he's actually not that useless. If he could do that, because I know people that do that for a living, man, and that is not, you just don't pick that up. Like, that's not just, being lucky with a gun. Like, you got to learn how to do that.
Yeah, that's that definitely takes some skill, even if you are just, stock footage skydiver with your face conveniently covered.
Of course, because we're going to put on the mask before we jump because it's such a high jump. It's the oxygen, right?
Oh,
it's also so they can talk the whole way down, which is amazing. So,
yeah, you definitely just don't hear horrible whooshing sounds.
No, and think I'm hurling to the earth at incredible speeds. But they parachute in. That's the whole point. And we find that the local police chief is going to be support to them. Does he ever really do anything that's remotely useful in this film besides getting away?
No, he's there, and that's pretty much his whole thing is he just gets in the way, I think.
Yeah, like if he had moonlighted as one of the rebels from Sulphur Springs, or that was like his brother or something, that would have made more sense. Or
if he'd been like able to connect them to the Sulphur Springs rebel and completely cut the fake short round out of the movie.
Oh, fake. Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about fake short round, which is the second time we've had a fake short round in this film series. They obviously looked back and said, okay, look, part 3 was a disaster, y'all. Besides David Bradley here, what else we got to have? Well, in the second one, we had that kid, right? Everybody seemed to kind of like that kid, so let's get another kid for Michael Dudikoff to kind of take under his wing at some point and give random trophy objects to at the end of the film.
Yeah, in my imagination, that was the same kid from American Ninja 2, just slightly more grown up, and that Michael Dudikoff or Joe Armstrong had completely forgotten who he was. Possibly due to some kind of skull trauma.
Yeah.
and fake short rounds just sitting there like, he knows me. We already did this once. He should say hello, but he never does.
No, he doesn't. But this guy picks 2 different people up from the airport, and he can't drive, and he's just terrible in almost every way. Like I don't get. Well, no, I get what his part is. Clearly in this, he's the fake short round, but he's never in enough peril for him to be saved so much. He's just kind of there, right? Like he's just sort of the commando gopher.
Yeah, he's never in any serious peril, and he's never really that important. He's just kind of like window dressing. Yeah. It's like, well, we got to have a little foreign friend who Braxton or Carl can argue about movies with.
Yes, because that is so necessary to this film. Oh gosh.
Yeah, don't make me think of much better movies than the movie I'm watching.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the flaws of this film, and the other one is the fact that it's an hour and 40 minutes long. That if there were a film in the series that did not need to be bloated by the runtime, it might be this one. Like, especially after that last time where every second of the 90 minutes was painful. I don't know that you want to keep people around for 10 extra.
No, and it definitely not. And it's not like it was and if you had cut that 10 extra or 15, I think you've still got a pretty good movie. I think it would play a lot better than it does, because there's clearly some interesting stuff going on, or at least entertaining stuff. Not interesting or intelligent in any way, but
Yeah, there's not enough. Well, there's plenty to go on here. There's plenty decent enough of an idea for what this movie is. It didn't need to be long too, and it certainly didn't need to have a fake sidekick with the other sidekick cracking wise. Because I've already decided the one sidekick was going to die, and they didn't do that right. So now the fact that they leave him around the whole time to talk smack about films with some random kid, which, by the way, how would that kid have ever seen any of those films?
I don't know. Maybe it's like how you could go to Nigeria and find old episodes of Doctor Who that were sent out in Kinescope or whatever.
I guess so. There must be some kind of great distribution, foreign distribution. But maybe the Cannon Group is trying to say, look, we got incredible distribution, y'all, to anybody that's expoing this film.
Yeah, let us have your Third Man and your Casablancas and just let us give us the Caribbean distribution rights to all your classic movies.
Yes, it'll be huge for you. It'll pay off major in Belgium, but that's how it goes. And so they start getting stuff from local folks, and they get pursued by the cops. And while escaping, they come up with the Peace Corps nurse, right? That they call doctor, but she's not a doctor. Sarah, Robin Still.
Yes.
Yes, 80s scream queen herself. So, as it turns out, I had actually seen her in other stuff. That was the amazing thing. I've seen the Slumber Party Massacre, because every 80s slasher fan must have seen that at some point. And I know about her tragic end, too, which is always the sad part of the story. But that's what I knew her from. I was like, yes. And I know she had done some other stuff, too. So when I saw her pop up, I was like, oh, yeah, it's the chick from the one of those knockoff 80s slasher films. And she pretty well plays the same role here, right?
Right. Oh, can we go back a second and talk about what happens before that, the fight at the sleazy nightclub?
Oh, please.
The fake Casablanca nightclub?
Yes, please do.
Well, the first thing I could think of as I was watching that, with the bartender being the contact, and, well, obviously the parallels to Casablanca, because he's clearly running a Rick's kind of establishment in this random third world country, secretly aiding, like, the Allies. But the thing is, the bar fight scene with David Bradley, it makes me think of Steven Seagal in Out for Justice. Like, it's like the Out for Justice bar fight scene where Nico goes in and starts bashing dudes with pool balls and stuff.
Yes.
Just not quite that extreme. Plus, you've got David Bradley, who's wearing a leather jacket in what is clearly a tropical climate. Just like Seagal trying to hide his gut in a leather coat.
Yeah. I don't even know that Bradley was trying to hide the gut at all. It's just he's trying to look ultra cool. Or whoever's dressing him is trying to do that. And
I think that was a deliberate nod to, like, Out for Justice, because clearly David Bradley's in better shape than Steven Seagal has ever been in his life.
Right. He also kind of looks like a knockoff Steven Seagal, from a certain angle. So I can see that. Yeah.
With the hair.
Yes, the hair. It's the hair more than anything. But yeah, and the tan skin. But yeah, you know what I thought of? And you were thinking Casablanca. I was thinking of that flashback in, I don't know if it's Airplane or Airplane 2, where Robert Hayes does the Saturday Night Fever dance for Julie Haggerty. It kind of reminded me of that bar.
That would be, that's Airplane, I think. Okay. Yeah, that's the first Airplane.
Okay, yeah, that's what I immediately thought of. So, sadly, I didn't get to Humphrey Bogart.
Or like, more like Overdrawn at the Memory Bank.
There you go.
I really think the whole purpose he was there, the whole reason behind fake Casablanca was to have the evil colonel come in with his flunkies and shoot the guy in the head.
Yeah.
And get weirdly molesty with Short Round.
Very weirdly molesty with Short Round. Did I tell you how odd that was to see? That didn't need to be in this film.
It was seriously unnerving. Like, it was like somebody spliced in footage from, like, the McMartin trial or something.
Yeah, there's that moment, and then later on, and we already talked about the hot nurse. We'll come back to her. Like, they try to get molesty with her too, and I'm like, there's an undertone to this film that doesn't need to be here. Like, this is nasty that you don't have to do this. We already know you're the bad guy. You don't have to also be that. That felt like it was trying to be
it was weird because.
Go ahead.
It was weird because that's literally the first kind of exploitative action in the whole series.
Yeah.
he gets Sarah, and she's tied up, and he rips her shirt open so we can see her in her bra, and he's like slapping her so her like boobs are jiggling around or whatever. And it's like something that should have been came from a completely different movie that just kind of got grafted into the American Ninja. And I'm not sure like what the whole point of it was, because clearly it was not necessary. I mean, molesting Short Round is bad enough. You don't need this extra titillation, I guess you could say. Sorry about that.
Well, no, I'm following you. Here's what I think they're trying to do. I think they're trying to be edgy and trying to be hardcore. Like, yeah, we're the same goofy action series, but we're going to be serious this time. This is a nuclear weapon, and we're going to almost molest, not Short Round, and we're going to rip this nurse's shirt open. We're going to show you how bad a dudes we really are. Because, look, at this point in action films, the game had been stepped up by 1990, 1991. Your bad guys just couldn't be these cardboard cutouts anymore. They had to be evil in multiple levels. But for me, that just totally betrays the sort of, I don't know, semi-innocence this series has. Like,
the cartoonishness.
Yeah, like it was like if G.I. Joe decided all of a sudden to be that special episode of Different Strokes or something. It's like that's the wrong kind of chocolate and peanut butter to be mixing together here, guys. So
yeah, and that was the slapping shirtless scene was the second reference to that actress's breasts, because
Yes.
David Bradley has a throwaway line when they're like running. He says something like, "You're not built for running, are you?" Because she's like just jiggling around.
Well, it's kind of like I sort of felt like for her the way they dressed her, the way they did poor Carrie Fisher in that first Star Wars movie. There's no underwear in space, so don't make any sudden movements. So
Right, clearly.
But that's the other thing we've got here. The first girl in the first movie, the Colonel's daughter or whatever, I mean, they exploited the heck out of her, though, early on, because she starts undressing Romancing the Stone style with Joe in the jungle. But it's all hidden by, like, leaves and stuff, and they make out a little bit, but it's almost high schoolish compared to this.
It's PG. It's
Yes.
not. It doesn't have that undertone of sleaze that this has. This is like...
Yes.
It's like they took an American Ninja movie and felt like they had to scrape a little layer of grime onto it to make it fit what they thought people wanted in the home video market in 1991, which was, pederasty and
softcore porn.
right.
Yeah. Well, I'm wondering if like people that worked on this went on to work on that show Silk Stalkings, if you remember that. It was like the Law and Order if everybody got cleavagey all of a sudden.
Oh yeah, the shirtless Law and Order. I definitely remember Silk Stockings.
So yeah, it's that same kind of vibe. But unlike this movie, that it works there because that's the whole feel of it. I mean, the police station is neon, for goodness sakes, in that show. This it doesn't fit the series motif at all. Like it really, and I'll say I don't think it really fits David Bradley or Michael Dudikoff. They're a little bit the kind of guys that would be in that stuff,
Yeah, neither. David Bradley doesn't look really comfortable with that line.
No, it's like he sort of spits it out and is like, "I'm very sorry, Robin. They made me say it."
Yeah, because, I mean, say what you want to about his acting ability. He seems like a very nice man.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't seem like the kind of guy who would go in for that kind of stuff. He's not Don the Dragon Wilson.
Yeah, he's not a sexist pig. Like, if anybody was before, it was Curtis, right? Like, he was the one that was all sweetheart, darling, and dear to the ladies and the ninjets and all that stuff. This guy's not that way at all, and we know Joe's not, for goodness sakes. So
no, Joe's like he's a Boy Scout.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's like a monk more than anything. I mean, he really is. So he's asexual, if anything. It's like that Colonel's daughter was sort of it for him, and then she broke his heart, and then that's it. Like, I needed a line about her, too, that, like, she just couldn't handle the Peace Corps, or whatever. But I guess they weren't going to call back that many. They figured there was nobody around from the first one that was still paying that much attention.
Well, you don't have to explain it away like a Speed 2 situation.
Yeah, this is true. It could have been worse. So, but I don't know. I like the nearby jungle and the ninja army that attacks, right, and how they get identified, right. But Sean and Carl actually do something that I think is cool. They start picking up. It's like a Contra game again. They start picking up random weapons and just taking out everybody. It's guns, nunchucks, doesn't matter what it is. They're going to use whatever they got to wade through this group of guys.
Yeah, that's one of the hallmarks is they use a lot of the ninja weapons, and they make a good point. I actually really like that because it was a more reasonable course of action, I guess, than to just fight these guys barehanded.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to be killing these ninjas and you may as well take their weapons because they're there. I mean, and these other ninjas aren't going to drop their swords and come at you barehanded.
Exactly. Why not take everything you've got, and fight right through them, right? But even in spite of all that, they still get captured,
Right. Oh, did you notice that he did the Jean-Claude Van Damme splits?
Yes. I was like, wow. I was surprised we hadn't seen that creep into this series at some point, or maybe they just didn't realize Bradley could do it. I don't think Dudikoff could do it, but Bradley worked that. You could tell that was the thing he worked on between the last movie and this one, besides his tan.
Oh, they gave him 6 months to learn how to do that, and he spent all day like at the yoga studio.
Yes, working that little pose out. So, you think somewhere Jean-Claude got wind of this and was like, I knew it.
I have no doubt. I have no doubt, because that seems completely in character for him.
Yes.
And I also like that he had the random fishing line, it was almost like the James Bond watch filament.
Yeah.
That he used to garrote that ninja, and then he jumped out of the tree to punch that one guy. And to me, the whole selling point of that entire ninja fight was how he's just in the background, he's just in the foreground killing all these ninjas, and in the background you see all these other ninjas that are creeping in the wrong direction, looking away from him because it's like they don't hear the loud foleying of these other guys dying.
Yeah.
And then eventually,
or it's like the code of ninjas is so strong, we can only really fight him one at a time. So.
And they don't even bother to turn around and look at the fight until it's their turn.
This is true, and maybe that's because on set they were missing each other so bad that it didn't sound like anything was happening. I don't know, but again, Cedric Sunstorm, not a good director of the background action. At least this time it's a remote place, so there's not random bystanders hanging out, not paying attention to what's going on.
And maybe he was killing them really quietly until the sound team got a hold of the film.
Yeah,
and amped up the noise level.
Yeah, somewhere he wasn't in the editing room when that was going down. But who knows at this point? They probably spent 30 days shooting this and about 7 minutes cutting it together. So it sort of just flows. I'm not sure it was shot in sequence, but it might as well have been. So
yeah, it does come across that way. The one thing you could say about it is it doesn't drag like American Ninja 3 did.
Very true. So
it definitely moves a whole lot faster.
Yeah, to be 11 minutes longer, really, it does at least get somewhere because there's good action. That's the thing. There's good action hanging around this whole time, and that's what I really liked about it was that the action was fun. Again, it didn't look ridiculous like last time. At least they were having some fun with it. And of course, they're getting tortured in the fort by the Ninja Master and Mulgrew, and meanwhile, Joe Armstrong is finally lured out of retirement, right, to go and help the cause here. And how do you like the way that fake Troutman finally gets him on board?
That was pretty fun. I can only imagine it lends some kind of credence to your theory that Joe and Sean were the two kids and then watching the cold opening of American Ninja 3.
Yeah.
And how they're apparently supposed to be good friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I also like that Joe kind of dressed like a Land's End catalog.
This is true. He does. So, I don't know. Wherever he was doing Peace Corps looked an awful lot like Colorado. And so I was like, man, I don't know that I'd leave that either. That looks like a pretty good gig compared to the other places you've been.
Yeah, I mean, he's teaching English to people who clearly know English.
Yeah.
He's able to just send them away for no good reason.
Yeah, go and draw the world or whatever it was.
Go make observations. Rummage around in this third world hellhole.
and find beauty. So,
Try not to get typhus.
Again, though, it's like if Rambo had taken that up too. It's how out of place he would be for that. So
it is kind of like Rambo, the newest Rambo, where he's like the fishing boat captain or whatever it is.
Oh yeah, he's the boat captain for the church missionaries.
Yeah.
Yeah, very strange. So, I just needed Joe to have a line, something like, when you're pushed hard enough, ninja's as easy as breathing. And then it would have been perfect. But he gives that look, though, like he has that go off in his head and decides that he's going to go into the fray. And he's sent to help Carl and Sean. Meanwhile, we talked about the attempted sexual assault of Sarah, right? Yep. Then we get the little payoff that, like, I'm the one that killed your father. And I'm like, well, they're going to call back to that idea again? Like, do we even need that motivation in here? Because the guy's already bad. Now he's triple bad.
Right. Well, it's just, I guess that they needed to check off the cliche list, and that was one they hadn't marked off yet.
I have a feeling somewhere in the midst of it, somebody's like, this is going to be the guy that killed Sean's father. And then somebody said, wait a minute, we already shot that dude the last time. Oh, really? You think he's going to notice that? Yeah, probably so. Okay, it's the nurse's dad then. So, why do we care about her? Who's she? It doesn't matter. It's somebody's dad.
Peace Corps.
Yeah. So...
That's our connection to Joe.
Yeah, it's all rhyme. It's right there.
It's a callback. It's
just shoot it, mate. I'm sure somewhere Golden Globus are like, you're wasting dollars. Shoot, film now. But dailies now, must see action scene. But yeah, so the third act is really highlighted by the fact that we get the local rebels of Sulphur Springs to band together for the cause of good, when at any time they could have decided to, because the way they wade through the ninja army and the police force, it's like they could have decided at any time to go take the place over. All it took was the Peace Corps volunteer to come in and rally the troops.
Oh yeah, and clearly everyone who's in Sulphur Springs has apparently everyone there already has a grudge against Mulgrew, so It's not like they needed Joe to rally them around or Pondo Short Round to do the exposition.
Yeah.
But I did like on the way to Sulphur Springs, the car immediately got attacked by ninjas, and how in this American Ninja universe, because in my mind it's its own self-contained dimension. Ninjas just kind of leap out of nowhere. They respawn indefinitely, and everybody in the third world kind of drives a cool, like, beater Mad Max hot rod kind of car.
Mm.
Even the people in Sulphur Springs who are basically living on the set of Beyond Thunderdome.
Yes, but they are all outfitted as if they were extras from a Mad Max film, was what I wrote in my notes. I was like, well, all I needed was the bad guy from Commando that was also the bad guy from one of the Mad Max films to wear the Road Warrior mask. I needed
Lord
that.
Humongous, yeah.
Yes, I needed that guy to roll out and go, today we fight, mates. And then they rolled through the compound. Because I love how Joe is at least smart enough after all these adventures to realize, well, I'm pretty well can kill everybody myself, but it would be easier if I had another group of people doing half of it for me. So, because I know once I unleash Sean, well, all I got to do is just kill the main ninja.
Oh, right, clearly. But of course, before he has to win over the trust of everybody at Megaton, so he's gonna from Fallout 3. That's the other thing the town made me think of, because of all the platforms and railings that kind of go nowhere, and boxcars.
Yes.
But he also has to have a pointless fight with a guy with a shotgun, and Dr. Tomba has to interrupt it. He's the anti-entity of this barter town.
Yes, of course. And that, again, another character. It's like now we've gone into another place where there's too many people entered into the scene, too many stakes involved. I don't know. I had trouble keeping up with who was where at this point.
Right, and then as if that wasn't enough, the terrorists are also going to bomb New York City the next day.
Yeah, because it's just easy to just walk in and do that. Like even in the 90s.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
There's no such thing as airport security in the 90s. I mean, you just guns, knives, suitcase nukes, whatever you got.
Yeah, no problem at all. We just walk right through. So yeah, but that's the ticking clock, right? Like that's what we're supposed to believe.
Right.
Yeah, which I'm like, no, not really buying it. So
I thought the ticking clock was supposed to be rescuing the Delta Force guys, but even that's not really an effective,
Yeah, like they want $5 million, or else the Delta Force guys are going to get it. But they decide we're going to kill this random nurse first because why? I guess because we need to kill the woman and put her in danger because that's the trope now that we're going to play off of.
Yeah, we need somebody to put in that refrigerator we saw at Bartertown.
Yeah, that's what it is. So, I don't know. The last act gets a little muddled because we've got so many fights going on so many levels that the only way I'm able to tell anything apart is the fact that everybody dresses in convenient color code. Yeah. I love Joe's. What would you call that? Like he looked kind of like, I don't know, Shredder versus Bumblebee or something with that yellow and black thing he had going on.
Oh yeah, that was his Bruce Lee outfit.
Yeah, very strange.
That was his The Bride outfit.
That's what it is. There you go. So I don't know. I just really thought it was just, I don't know, again, random and kind of strange that.
Well, I guess it fits in with the ninja color code system.
Yeah.
Because you had like the green ninjas this time, actually had that guy who was like a leather ninja, but it kind of looked green, and you had all the usual primary colors of ninja, including the Bumblebee yellow. That was his disguise, I guess, to sneak down to the ninja killing floor. I don't know.
Something like that. I don't know. It was very strange, but it was easy at least to keep up with him, right? So now the thing is that our three male leads all get a major kill in the climax. And that's what I wanted to talk about. The fact that Carl lives, that's one thing, right? But Carl lives, fires a missile, and destroys Maqsood in the helicopter, in the toy helicopter.
Yeah.
Yeah, very convenient.
And let's see, Sean gets to fight the British guy, whose name I've already forgotten. It sounded
That's
to me
Mulgrew.
like
He fights.
yeah, Mulgrew.
Yeah.
It sounded to me like Mulgrew's first name was Scarf. That doesn't make sense, but they repeat it several times, and I can never actually understand what they're saying. But it always sounds like Scarf Mulgrew, which is the weirdest name. Please tell me that that's not just something I made up, because that
It sounded like it to me, but it sounds like a good fake noir detective name. You know, like he would be the sidekick of the lead detective, Sam Blue, or something like that. You know, so, Scarf Mulgrew. I knew him way back in Hell's Kitchen, you know, or something like that. He would be that guy.
he's clearly a member of like Daredevil's coterie of sidekicks.
Yeah, there you go. he's part of that whole clan. But Carl kills Maqsood. Mulgrew gets killed by Sean. How does Sean even kill him? He sneaks up behind him and breaks his neck? Is that what it was?
I think so, yeah. No, they're fighting, and the British and Mulgrew has like an axe, and he keeps smashing
That's
statues pointlessly.
Yes.
And I think they just kind of
He gets the axe. You're right. He kills him with the axe. I was like, that's not very ninja. So
well, it was a ninja axe. I mean,
I guess that's true. So that he kills him with his sort of ninja axe. And of course the Ninja Master and Joe have to face off, and we've seen Joe do two of these before, right? Two of the ultimate big boss face offs. But I have to say this one it's not very satisfying. Like it's kind of a weak fight.
yeah, and it doesn't end in a very ninja fashion. I mean, it starts out with like the WWE test of strength where they're like holding hands, and then it just kind of abruptly ends when Joe like drops a grenade on the Eye Patch Ninja and blows him up.
Yes, which was just out of nowhere.
Yeah, and apparently Eye Patch was made of napalm, like
Yes.
pure napalm, so he just blew up like a box full of dynamite.
Yes, because they've also disarmed the nuke. We should throw that out there.
Just in case you were worried that New York City was going to get blown up in 1991, you're safe. It's cool.
Yeah, so we got it. It's okay. So there's no problem. We're gonna save the city from complete and total terror. It's not going to be a problem at all.
Yeah, at least until they turned Manhattan into a prison island in 1999.
Yes. Which is to come somewhere down the line. But all we see is Joe shake hands with the rebel leader. He hands his Bruce Lee suit to Not Short Round, looks at Sean, nods, and walks off over the dead bodies of the ninjas beneath his feet, presumably to go back to the Peace Corps.
Yeah, because that was a really funny scene, just because the handshake is so horribly awkward.
Yeah, it was very weird. Like, I did not understand the purpose of the handshake. I really didn't. I'll just tell you. I thought that was a weird way of, I don't know, doing this.
The whole ending was really just strange.
Mm-hmm.
Starting with the odd handshake, the fact that Joe never actually says anything to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
He's just completely silent the entire time. Like he couldn't be bothered to say "good fight" or "thanks for the help" or "get bent." He just
I know. He never talks to anyone. So, and I love how Sarah has that one line to Sean, like, who was that guy that untied you? Oh, that's just a friend of mine. He's not much with words, but he's good with his hands, or whatever crazy thing he says.
But clearly he's not good with his hands, because he gives the worst handshake ever in the history of handshakes.
Yes, he gives the dead fish to the poor guy. That's the sad part of it. Yeah, it was very strange. It was almost like they said, "Well, guys, we're done. We don't have any more money, so just end this." Okay, so we're done.
Yep. Here's your heroic walking off into the sunset moment as you gingerly step over these extras that are splayed out in a field.
Exactly. And it's over. That's it. Boom. We didn't even get a cool theme song. That's what I was looking for. I was like, "Where's the theme song, man? Come on!" And we didn't get one this time. We didn't get, "It's Annihilation" or anything. Like I wanted something there, but couldn't do it.
The cheesy power metal. You needed a power ballad.
It would have fit the times, right? Like, I know it's the 90s. It was right before Nirvana ruined all of it for everybody. So, that music was still popular. People would have gone for that at that point. Robert Tepper surely was not busy doing another Rocky movie. So, I don't know why we couldn't have got him, but alas, we did not. So.
Get like a Warrant or a Rat or a Cinderella.
Though even those bands are a little high. You're probably going for Trickster at that point, or something
What about Scorpions? They might work.
They might have done it. They actually might have done it. Or like, Mr. Mister could have done you a tune, but
Kicks.
Yeah, there you go. Kicks. That would have been the band if we could have got Kicks, and they could have thrown Girl Money in the bar fight scene earlier. That would have been perfect. But I guess it'll be for us to always wonder what would have been. But I am really curious about this now. I've been able to pretty well guess how I thought you were going to go with these last ones, but I'm really serious. I want to know, what's your final recommendations and popcorn rating for American Ninja 4: The Annihilation?
I would give it a medium popcorn, but with extra butter. I found it very entertaining. Not enough to give it a large popcorn, but it was definitely fun to watch. I had a lot of fun with this one, much more so than I did with the third film. It just completely makes no sense in a good way. There's no consistent motivation or any real explanation as to why these two guys are fighting together, but it doesn't really matter because you've got way more ninjas and terrorists and subplots to fight your way through. So it kind of worked for me, especially after watching it back to back with 3. This is like watching Enter the Ninja or something compared to 3.
Well, I will say this. I agree with you that this is a much more fun time than really anything we got last time. And I would even say than the second one. The second one to me is a high point in the series, though, because I thought it was the best put together story. It was the best use of if you're going to have American Ninja and you just want to drop them in places after you've done the origin, it's the most interesting. But this at least was a sequel where it wasn't somebody trying to create a super soldier or something like that. And so I was glad to get away from that trope. And even though they try to work in some sort of ugly real world, stuff that doesn't need to be a part of this series, this is a lot of fun, and the action in it is a blast. So I'm going to go medium popcorn as well. I don't know that I'll throw extra butter on it, but it's definitely that good fun matinee kind of thing. And if you're into watching these kind of films and stuff, you could do a lot worse. This one is a lot of fun along the way. So I'll join you in the medium popcorn for it. But as a series as a whole, go ahead.
I can't get you to add any Raisinets or Whoppers or anything to the popcorn.
I would say maybe it's like the medium special popcorn for the day. Like you get some caramel popcorn, if you want to do something a little different at the thing. So
the kettle corn.
We'll go kettle corn with it, but definitely medium. So as a series, though, Rod, kind of rank them for me. Your ideas of how these films have played out and how you would say if you're going to launch into this series, what you should go and do.
I would say if you're going to launch into the series, you can skip 3 altogether. There's no real point to it. Just watch 1, 2, and 4. Or if you really just don't need the origin story, and you really don't because there's no point to it, maybe just go with 2 and 4 as your weird high points. I mean, one is interesting in terms of it's fairly competent and pretty well made, but it's not, you don't really need to know why Joe has his ninja magic. you just got to know that there's ninjas.
Yeah. So I would agree with that. To me, the second one is the best one, followed closely by this one. And then I think the first one is good just because you may not need to know how he got his ninja magic, but at least I think you see probably the best use of Curtis in the whole series. I don't know that he was that good. The thing that makes it too funny is the Marine commander. That guy's hilarious. So I don't know what planet he was on, but it's fun to listen to his lines. That's why we use so many of his lines in the opening credits. He's hilarious. But to me, I really think the thing was at its best in 2. It really tanked in 3, but it made money, so we got the 4th one, and I think people had just moved on from it at that point, and that's why it's gone. But I'll say this. I would not be surprised if one day someone didn't go back and, revisit the American Ninja series somewhere down the line.
I think it's definitely something you could redo. Especially in this kind of remake happy world. I mean, Sasha Mitchell's going back for another kickboxer movie. Surely you could get Michael Dudikoff and David Bradley back for an American Ninjas reboot. Maybe give them, I don't know, some kids.
Yeah, well, it'd be like the next American Ninja, and you have these 2 guys as the mentor sensei or something.
Yeah, that actually would work. Or maybe make David Bradley evil. I don't know what he's been up to.
Yeah.
He could go bad.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe that poison finally took effect all these years later.
30 years after the fact. Poison.
Well, it wasn't tested real well, so they had to get around and figure it out eventually. But we'll have to see if that ever happens, indeed. So, but Ron, thanks so much for joining me on your inaugural series with Film Strip.
It has been a pleasure and an honor, sir.
Well, we'll definitely have to have you back on again for some other stuff outside of the Canon Film Group lexicon of films. So, in other words, we'll actually get you on something good.
So we're gonna go to trauma movies? 'Cause...
Well, let's take our baby steps. So maybe we do a Corman film next. I don't know. But
Black Scorpion it is.
Indeed. So, but it's great to have you on. Tell folks how they can catch up with your writing out there on the internet.
You can find me at denofgeek.com. That's the British version, not the American version. And you can find me writing about weird stuff in the news daily at popfi.com.
But excellent. And folks, as always, you can find me and all the other crew from Continuous Play on our website, continuousplaypodcast.com, and click one of the many links to our podcast ventures there, The Art of Slaying, Squared Circle Flashbacks, the Fabius Factor Film Podcast, and, of course, Film Strip for many more episodes. Let us know what you think of the show. Leave us a review on iTunes and hook up with us on Facebook and Twitter. We appreciate your support. Until next time, for Ron, I'm Jay. Thanks for listening to Film Strip.
Thank you for joining us.
Remember the day I found you.
All content used or discussed in this podcast is the property of the respective owners and used under the Fair Use Act, Section 504C2, Title 17.
I must therefore ask you to accompany me to the police station to answer several serious questions.